Prime Field.
Welcome, this is Prime Field. On November 3rd, 2025, South Carolina opened its season with a 94-54 victory over Grand Canyon. The margin was decisive. The stat line was specific. The game's first sequence set the tone. South Carolina scored the opening bucket and pushed to a 7-0 lead within minutes. That early surge framed the central question this documentary will examine. Is this a short-term roster showcase, or the first clear evidence of a stylistic evolution into a program long defined by post-play? This film traces that question through one game's numbers and through the tactical choices behind them. The details are the evidence. The conclusions will follow. Next, the player whose arrival altered the narrative from the opening minute. Tania Latson entered South Carolina as a transfer with a scoring pedigree. In the opener, she scored 20 points on 7 for 10 shooting. Those are efficient figures. She added 4 assists and committed 2 turnovers. That produced a near 2-1 assist to turnover ratio. She also drew 6 fouls. The raw totals matter. The sequence matters more. Latson scored the game's first bucket. She followed with a quick layup. The early aggressiveness forced defensive adjustments. The 6 fouls drawn indicate repeated penetration to the rim and consistent contact while attacking inside. Latson's 2 turnovers and 4 assists reflect a guard who is actively creating. The shooting percentages show comfort in a new offense. Those combine into an on-court profile, a primary perimeter scorer who can also facilitate. Her debut was not merely a high-point total. It was functional. It contributed to the offensive architecture that governed the afternoon. The next chapter examines how that perimeter scoring linked with the team's established floor general. Raven Johnson functioned as the team's floor general. She recorded 7 assists, 8 defensive rebounds, and 11 points. She also made 3 three-pointers. Those numbers read like balance: playmaking, defensive activity, and perimeter scoring. Together, Raven Johnson and Tessa Johnson combined for 6 made three-pointers, each going 3 for 6 from deep. That perimeter volume is notable given South Carolina's recent identity. Historically, this program relied on interior scoring from dominant post players. Against Grand Canyon, the backcourt supplied sustained spacing and shot-making. Coach Dawn Staley deployed the backcourt early and often. Both guards logged significant minutes. The result was an offense that could stretch a defense while maintaining control. Raven's 7 assists indicate passing lanes opened by movement and spacing. Her 8 defensive rebounds show involvement on the glass, limiting transition risks after perimeter possessions. This pairing's effectiveness raises a tactical question. Can perimeter creation coexist with interior control? The next chapter explores how the roster answered that query. South Carolina's starters all reached double figures. The distribution was clear: Latson 20, Tessa Johnson 19, Joyce Edwards 13, Medina Agot 12, Raven Johnson 11. That 5 for 5 scoring balance is a measurable sign of offensive diversity. Bench contributions reinforced the depth. McDowell scored 9 points and recorded a steal. Makeer added 5 points and 2 blocks. 4 newcomers, Latson, Agot Makeer, and McDowell, saw meaningful game conditions. 9 of the 10 active players scored at least once. Staley used a full 10-player rotation. Given roster circumstances, that deployment was both practical and revealing. Each player who entered the game contributed a tangible statistic. In blowout conditions, balanced scoring is not merely cosmetic. It is evidence that role players understand their functions. It is evidence that the coaching staff trusts the rotation. This distribution of minutes and points fed into a larger structural question about identity. Did the perimeter emphasis compromise interior control? The answer appears in the paint numbers from the first half. Despite the guard-centered moments, South Carolina controlled the paint. In the first half alone, the Gamecocks outscored Grand Canyon 40-18 in the paint. That 40-18 split is a significant differential in the most contested area on the floor. Joyce Edwards provided a physical interior presence and scored 13 points. Medina Oko acquired as a transfer to anchor the middle, added 12 points and showed positional discipline. Their contributions kept the lane a priority for South Carolina. Opponents were forced to respect interior scoring and defensive positioning even as perimeter threats circulated the ball. The statistical paradox is apparent. The team produced elite guard play and sustained paint dominance in the same game. That dual capability suggests tactical flexibility rather than a wholesale identity change. It indicates an ability to attack from multiple vectors. The following chapter places a single game evidence in program context. South Carolina arrives at the season with notable absences. Chloe Kitts is sidelined by a season-long injury. Ashlyn Watkins is taking the year off. Those roster shifts altered available personnel and opened minutes for newcomers. Historically, the Gamecocks' recent success, 3 national titles in the past 8 seasons, was built around interior stars and post-centric systems. This opening game did not erase that history. Instead, it illustrated adaptation. With established post presence constrained by absences and new faces integrated, the staff shifted toward a guard-forward hybrid. The result was a team that could space the floor and still exert control in the paint. That adaptation is tactical, not philosophical. Coach Staley preserved interior priorities while increasing perimeter responsibilities. The personnel decisions in the opener reflect deliberate planning. The game served as a laboratory for a staff attesting how new arrivals and existing leaders might combine. From the laboratory, this documentary moves to implications. What does this game say about tournament viability and championship continuity? The opener did 3 things simultaneously. It validated new pieces. It showcased guard-initiated spacing. It reaffirmed interior strength. Validation is measurable. Latson's efficiency. The Johnsons' shooting. Edwards and Agot's paint production. The bench contributions. Each element contributed to a comprehensive win. The practical takeaway is modest and specific. South Carolina exhibited two-way flexibility in a single contest. That flexibility preserves multiple strategic options for the season ahead. It reduces the predictability of the team's offensive attack. It increases matchup problems for opponents who must defend both perimeter shooters and interior finishers. The transition now is toward legacy, how this adaptation fits into the program's recent arc. For a program that has won 3 national titles in the 8 seasons, the season opener was not merely a win. It was an early demonstration that South Carolina can dominate through multiple vectors of play. The game provided evidence that a guard-led approach can coexist with paint control. That coexistence matters beyond a single box score. It speaks to organizational depth. It speaks to coaching that can modify schemes to fit personnel. It speaks to roster construction that values both shot creation and interior position. This performance neither guarantees outcomes nor presumes future results. It does, however, offer a measurable datum in South Carolina's ongoing narrative. The program remains capable of integrating high-volume perimeter play without surrendering its interior identity. The November 3rd opener is one piece of evidence in a longer season. It will be measured again, in different arenas and against different opponents.
Prime Field!